What's going on, guys? So this is going to kind of be like a part 2 to the last video where I kind of talked about some of the precautions and some of the things you have to worry about if you own an RV and it's in storage. Like, you have to go out and spend time in it. You have to not neglect it. You have to treat it as if it's an actual investment, even though you may not call it an investment. You have to treat it as if you spent a lot of money on something, and if you just let it sit out there and die, it's going to. And then the environment around it is going to start reclaiming it and taking care of it. The rats, the mice, the everything. We'll get into it. The bugs, the spiders, all of that. You have to go out with a purpose, and that purpose has to be to take care of your RV, inspect the roof, inspect it for things that could potentially lead to worse things. You know, you may have a small tear in the top of your roof because the manufacturer dropped the ball and they didn't put enough sealant, they didn't lay it on there right, but if you fix that seal, or you fix that roof material and you seal it up, you may never have a problem again, versus letting it linger and become a big thing that eventually turns into a catastrophe and you hating your RV and possibly not even being able to get out of it because the damage has gotten so bad. So think about that. Make it a point, mark your calendar, say, I'm going to go out in the next couple of days, I'm going to spend a couple hours with the RV, loving on it, and checking for every possible thing that could lead to a potential failure, because I spent a lot of money on this. I don't want it to turn into junk, and I want to be able to enjoy it when I need to use it. Go out there with that purpose. Get yourself a calendar, schedule it, make sure you're out there maybe a couple times a week. It's worth it. If you spent 30, 40, 50, 60, 80, 100, $200,000 on an RV, don't you think it's worth a trip, you know, a couple times a week just to go out, spray it for bugs, check the seals, check for anything that looks odd, look for rodent droppings, things like that, or maybe even go out with the goal of doing an improvement to it. Anyways, let's kick this video off, because this topic is going to be one related to questions people ask me in terms of what do we do from an equipment perspective to kind of keep an eye on things and to give us a little bit of advance notice if there is a problem. Hang tight, I'll be right back. Okay, so we're going to start this by going over tech. Tech that's affordable, easy to get, and at the same time can really, really help you if there's some type of a major issue occurring, possibly. Now, of course, they won't identify everything, but all this stuff is just to help give you precursors to things that could get bad. So first of all, I have a Reolink pan-tilt interior camera in here. It's connected to a T-Mobile hotspot, and that T-Mobile hotspot, of course, is powered by the solar and everything on here, but it also has a battery. So if the power goes out on the RV, the hotspot will continue to operate for a couple of hours, and maybe even, you know, probably 10, 15, 20 hours or more, and I can still kind of see what's going on, and I can log into the hotspot to see if it's on battery power or if it's on AC power, which is really nice. Now, I use Reolink cameras. I actually have two of them. I have one here and I have one up in the front, and they have motion detection. They're 2K, I believe, so it's really good resolution, night vision, really, really good cameras. I set this one right here, so whenever all the slides are in, it sees in between them, and it can kind of give me a good view of what's going on. Really good audio, so I can hear everything that's going on as well, and it gives me a little bit of peace of mind to know that, you know what, I can look in my RV quickly and I can kind of see if something weird's going on. But again, that's just a piece of it, and that's not going to let me see things down here or in cabinets or behind walls. I can't see it, but it's a tool that at least gives me some clarity that I normally wouldn't have. The second thing, and I've been doing this for a long time, is I have a Simply Safe alarm system on the RV. Now, it's not just for security. Even though we have sensors everywhere and motion detection, I have a sensor there, I have a sensor up there, I have motion detection sensors in here, there's a motion detection sensor up there, I have smoke alarm as well as carbon monoxide detection in here. So that's the nice thing about Simply Safe, is I don't have to run any wires. This is not sponsored by them, by the way, I'm just going over some things. But I've added to this because it gives me the flexibility. Why not? If I have the toolbox, why not put tools in it? So the next tool I have right here is a temperature monitoring sensor. So I can monitor the temperature inside of the RV in real time and see what's going on no matter where I'm at. If I'm out, you know, shopping, or we're out camping and we decide to go on an excursion, if this is set to go off, I'll get an alert on my phone saying that the temperature is too high or too low, and that's really cool. I also have a sensor in the basement area for water. It is a water detection or water leak detection sensor. Essentially what it is, it has two electroprobes sticking out the bottom. They're spaced off of the ground just a little bit, and if any water collects or pools down there, it makes the contact complete the circuit, and all of a sudden you get an alert and an alarm saying you have a water leak. I have one directly under all of the shower, the wet bay area, all of that back there. So it's in an area that if water starts to build up, I can detect it, which is something, again, that's really important. It's a proactive way of me kind of getting some alert or some advanced notification if I have a problem. Now, on top of that, you know, if you have anything else in here to alert you to things from a tech perspective, maybe you're using that tool Waggle, or you're using some of that other stuff if you have a dog or you have other, you know, animals inside of your RV to kind of keep an eye on the temperature and things like that. But another thing I do is I keep a humidity sensor out here as well, and that humidity sensor is something I just come in and I check the humidity. I have the capability, because of hookups, to be able to run my AC. I keep my AC set at 85 degrees, which basically turns it on and helps dehumidify. Another piece of technology is this thing that I've shown you time and time again. It's a mini dehumidifier. We keep it plugged in. I just emptied it out. That's why you see water around the sink. But this thing gets full about once a week. So I have to come out and empty it out. Think about it. This container is about the size of a, 30-ounce glass of water. And I'm pulling that much at least, because it shuts off when it gets to the top. But I pull that much out of this RV every single week. Imagine if all of my cabinetry, wood, and everything else was absorbing that water, and however much it finally needs to absorb. So I've actually emptied this out, and it usually refills back up in 3 to 4 days whenever it's super hot outside. And I know that this isn't really dehumidifying the whole RV. It's mainly dehumidifying this space, but it's a piece of it. So that works along with the AC that kicks on whenever the temperature reaches too high, and it acts as dehumidification, which again prevents things, or helps proactively prevent things from getting bad. Because I've mentioned this in a video, when we had the chaparral, some of the cabinets you could see, we came in one time and it looked like it was like Frosty Village in here. And we found out it was mildew simply because of the humidity that was inside of the RV. And this is before we had a powered spot. So we had no way to really control it. So we came through and cleaned the whole thing out, but then realized it's just going to come back. So we opted to pay more to go ahead and get an actual powered spot so we could provide 50 amps of power to the RV. I think it was actually 30 amps out there. I don't think they gave 50, but 30 amps of power to the RV to be able to turn the AC on occasionally, but more importantly, be able to throw a dehumidifier in here. We never, or in the chaparral, we never had a problem with that mildew after we threw a dehumidifier in the RV. I know damp rid, things like that work okay, but in my opinion, I have not seen them collect so much moisture, except if it's in a small space like a bathroom or closet, that it makes a huge difference. So just keep that in mind. Technology like this actually works really well, and I've been very pleased with how these small dehumidifiers work. I had one that I thought broke, so I bought a new one, and when I moved it to a different outlet, it started working again, so I think it might have just been jammed up or something. I have this little pest repellent thing. Whenever I turn it up, it's super loud, has LED flashing lights on it that automatically turn on at night. It is painfully loud, and it goes through a ton of different sounds, like 10 or 15 different sounds. And I don't know how effective it is, but what I can tell you is I had one of these in the basement, or a form of this in the basement of the RV before we had rats. We never had a rodent problem. I had it disconnected because I forgot what I was doing. I was doing something with the outlet. I disconnected it, and I forgot to plug it back in on the last trip. And then we got rats. Or at least a rat, or maybe 2 rats. I don't know, but we don't have any more, thankfully. But I can tell you that that I think it helped. Now, some people will say, well, I'm sure they could have heard this one from down there. That's true, but that's a lot of walls and a lot of things to get through to get to them. And I think most people know by now, rats don't like to be directly in front of something that's going to bother them. But if they can get on the other side of a wall, they're not as concerned anymore because they see that as a barrier. And I think that's probably what happened. No sign of anything in here. We keep this thing running. I have one in here. I have one in the Surveyor. I have one in my shop. I have one in the garage. I think I have one somewhere else too. But these things appear to work really well for us. I don't know how effective they would be for you, depending on the situation you're in. And at the same time, just understand that a barrier, a wall, something, that they can go on the other side of might be enough to keep them coming back. And as long as they're not directly in front of this, as long as it's not blasting in their ear. But those are just some of the things that I recommend. Just some technology. We use it. It's kind of a combined effort to say we're doing everything we can. Kind of like if you're trying to battle identity theft. You don't just sign up for, one of those identity blocking or identity protection services. You also take steps. You don't give your social security out to everybody. You don't do these. You take a multi-front approach to try to solve problems or prevent problems from occurring. And that's what I'm doing here. I'm not saying any one of these tools is going to be super effective by itself, but they all, when combined together, give me clarity on what's going on with our very expensive investment that otherwise I wouldn't have. And if I didn't take the time to think about these things, then my RV would have so many issues that we would have to deal with, and we would end up hating it. We would end up saying it's junk, it's trash, there's everything wrong with it. We've had to fix things because we proactively saw that if we didn't, it could lead to another problem. And these are things that you have to get ahead of, just like with your home, just like with your car. There's some people who have a car that they buy and you hear it going down the road, there's blue smoke coming out of the exhaust, it's rattling, there's dents all over it, and you know that they don't care about it. But you also know that that car is not going to last very long. Then you see another car that's 30 years older than it going down the road in perfect condition, and you're like, man, how is that old Lincoln Town Car, or how's that old Crown Vic, or how's that old Chevy or Ford really holding up still? It's because the person takes care of it. That's what it comes down to. Take care of your RV. I'm going to assign this homework to you again. If you own an RV, don't let it sit there and die. Go ahead and mark your calendar, use the app on your phone, notify yourself, I got to get out there twice a week, 3 times a week, whatever. I got to clean stuff. I have to be able to inspect things. Buy a little drone and fly it over the roof and get close. Those all have really good cameras now. And just find a way to keep up with your RV. If technology helps you, get the technology. If it's not going to hold you back financially, get the technology. Make it work. But if you're going to complain that your $50,000+ or $30,000+ or $20,000+ RV is junk and it's failing, but you've failed to take care of it and keep an eye on it and monitor it and go out and see it and spend time with it and show it some love, you don't have a heck of a lot of folks you can solely blame. You can put some of the blame on a manufacturer. You can put some of the blame on whoever else, but you have to focus some of the blame on yourself if you're letting your RV sit out there to die. Again, same request I made in the last video. Drop a comment below if you have an RV that you go out and you check on, and because you've checked on it, you've caught something that could have turned into something really, really bad. I think those stories will help folks who watch these videos go, man, that's a really good idea, because that could have potentially been me and my RV. And I may read those stories on the channel in a future video. Anyways, guys, sure hope you've enjoyed this video. I think it's worth it because there are so many folks who just don't understand how important it is to keep up with their RV if they want their RV to last at all. Guys, if you haven't had a chance, again, drop that comment below with your story. Anyways, guys, if you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up. I'm going to continue going through here because we're going to have a fantastic weekend. And yeah, we'll talk to you again very soon.